Merle, can I ask you a strange question? And can you not tell Dad that I asked you this?
Well, sure, I guess.
Do you have the lost key to get into Dad's office?
Why do you need that?
I'm trying to figure out why Dad has been acting so strangely.
Dad always acts strange.
Yeah, but I thought maybe looking around could help me understand why he's been so strange this past year in particular.
I guess that makes sense. But I don't get why you're always trying so hard to understand people. Alright, I have the key.
Wait, you really do? How did you even get the key?
Easy. I was up early on a Monday morning reading a book so I could fill in the reading journal that Miss Prescott makes us do.
Merle.
Sorry, I just forgotten to read for an hour that weekend, and we have to write down the exact time we started and stopped and what we read about, so I couldn't just make it up. Anyway, I saw Dad come out of his office to leave for work. He closed and locked the door and tried to put the key in his back pocket, but instead of staying there, it slipped down onto the floor. It didn't make any sounds because the carpet muffled it. So I went to go pick it up. Bet you're all surprised.
Well, yeah, I am surprised.
Oh yeah, I am so cool.
You know something? You really are. So, can I have the key?
Yeah, sure. And you can keep it. I'm done playing spy. There's a knothole in one of the trees on the beach here. It's like the one that Scout and Jem find in To Kill a Mockingbird, which I actually liked reading. Gus let me take that book before he needed to finish it for school. Anyway, I like the idea of doing things Scout would have done, so I put the key in the knothole to see if it would mysteriously disappear. But I've been checking all the time. It's still there.
Thanks, Merle. Seriously.
You could give me an extra dessert after dinner tonight.
We'll see about that.
I'm going to go, okay? But I'll come talk to you again later. All the
taking random stuff out of tree knots. I guess this makes me Boo Radley. Well, sometimes I do feel like I'm living in a book.
so messy.
This smells like Chinese takeout. Look, there's even a fortune cookie slipped down in the cushion cracks. Never get involved in a land war in Asia? There it is. Another part of Dad's journal. Risperdal. I've never heard of that before. I wonder if Violet knows Dad is taking these. Receipts from the dry cleaners, a coupon to the barbers, a list of overdue library books. He's had the complete single mother checked out for 3 months? Maybe they didn't have the complete single father. I haven't been in here for so long that it just seemed like another place. Like stepping through the wardrobe into Narnia, but it's just a room. I knew he slept down here, but I didn't realize he had just the one blanket. It's so thin.
I have kind of a weird question. Have you ever heard of a drug called Risperdal?
Oh, so you took a look around the office. Read the journal he keeps on his desk. Pretty fucked up, right? I was waiting for you to do it.
Wait, you know about all this?
Of course. I've been picking the lock for months. There are YouTube videos on how to do it. All you need is a $15 lock picking set from Amazon.
So it was you who picked the lock on that science teacher workroom that one time?
Yeah, that was me. I needed the answers to Mr. Stevens' chemistry quiz he was giving the next day, but I still failed it.
Back to the whole Risperdal thing.
Yeah, it's for schizophrenia. I looked it up.
Wait. You mean Dad has...
Yep.
This whole time, he's been suffering. And none of us even knew it?
I wouldn't say that. We all knew he was suffering, just not from what. And I bet you anything Mom knew. So he probably had at least one person to confide in.
God, I hope so. What is Risperdal, though? I mean, how does it work?
I don't know too much in the grand scheme of things. I'm no doctor, obviously, but I'll tell you what I'm sure of. Risperdal is an antipsychotic. That means it treats symptoms like hearing voices, delusions, hallucinations, scrambled speech. That kind of thing. All kinds of memories started seeming different when I was looking this stuff up. Like, remember when we were little? I was 5, maybe, and you were 6. And Dad wouldn't leave the house for a few days because he said everyone in town could hear his thoughts. That everyone would know what a terrible person he was. Mom finally took him to the doctor. She told us that Dad had a very bad fever and had hallucinated. That's called thought broadcasting, by the way. I read about it.
But not everything that seems strange has to be a delusion, does it? Because if it does, that means there's no room for imagination, for fantasy.
I can't believe you're even questioning this. Schizophrenic delusions and a healthy imagination are not the same thing. If Dad had come up with this story in his head and then written a novel or a play or something where it's acknowledged that the story isn't true, that would be normal imagination. Believing that it actually happened and is still happening, that's delusional behavior, Lena. And the thing about delusions is that they aren't true. This is not true.
I guess you're right. It probably isn't. All of it, every single page, it's so hard to swallow.
Of course I'm right.
So, what are you gonna do now that you know all this?
I'm going to make sure he gets on the right track. In terms of mental health, I mean.
You're a better person than I am. I just can't care that much. Not after everything else he's done. But before you do that, I want you to have this. It's the key to the chest in his closet. You know, the one where we used to try and pry it open when we played hide and seek. The one Dad got so mad about us touching that he put us in timeout every time he caught us in there.
I remember the one. It was behind that panel. We thought it was a secret hideout.
He dropped this key on the back porch a little more than a year ago. It took me a week to figure out what it went to. God, I was obsessed with finding out what it unlocked. Then I realized. When I looked, I found something in the chest. I showed it to Mom.
What did you find?
It was... You're not gonna believe me. Okay. It was a feather robe. Like the kind Dad described in his diary. Except I don't want you to take that as proof that it's true. It was just a robe. Beautiful, though. So intricate. I put it on before I showed it to Mom. I felt... never mind.
Where is the robe now?
It's gone. Wherever Mom went, I think she took it with her.
How come you didn't tell me this before?
Honestly, I don't know. I could give you some "the time wasn't right" bullshit. I just didn't know how to say it. It was so strange, what I found.
I'm going to go take a look. Thank you, Vi. This is all a lot to take in, but I'm going to figure it out, I promise you.
I never doubted that for a second.
Wait, is this Mom's hair? Woven into a bracelet?
Oh, Lena.
I want to understand what I just saw. I want there to be a logical explanation that can make you look better than what this looks like.
I wish I could explain it.
But you can't, can you? I try so hard to let all your little quirks go because that's what I'm supposed to do, because they're what make you, you, my father. But this isn't a quirk. This is a delusion.
Wait, please. Don't come to premature conclusions. This isn't the way I intended you to find out.
Then how were you planning on doing it? Over coffee and pastries?
Don't mock me. This may be easy for you, but when I saw you kneeling in front of that chest, I thought my heart was going to stop beating. I was so suddenly afraid.
So did mine, when I first saw it.
Which was why I didn't intend for you to find out this way. And yet you knew, somehow, to look here. I can tell, and now this thing, this secret, I don't have to keep it from you. Will you at least tell me how you knew to look here?
Vi told me. She knew about the chest. She'd found it before Mom disappeared.
Your sister? So she knows that I... But how? I suppose it doesn't matter, does it? I'm beginning to get the feeling that the four of you understand more than I realized. You're very observant, all of you. But I guess that should make me proud. I see you have my journal. Did you read it? All of it?
Yes, I did.
At least you're honest about it. I don't think I can fault you for reading it. I would have done the same thing.
I want you to tell me. Here, now, without thinking about it or rereading the diary, what happened?
You have a right to ask that. But if you're hoping I'm going to recant what I wrote in that diary, you're mistaken. I'm not sure how aware you are of the way I've struggled all my life with my mental health. You probably knew, or guessed, that I was different from other children's fathers. But I don't know if you realized how different. I know I don't talk about it much, because I didn't want you to realize that your father once heard and saw things he couldn't explain. That he would sometimes become convinced of things that couldn't be true. It's been a lifelong process, working with therapists and trying different combinations of medications to try and treat my delusions, but I swear, it's manageable now.
I always knew you understood the world differently, but it didn't bother me.
Thank you. That means more than you might realize. Lena, I want to ask you something now. I know we never talked about it. To be frank, I've never talked about it with any of you. But please tell me you believe I didn't harm your mother in any way.
I doubted for a while, but no, you couldn't have.
You're right. I couldn't have.
Whatever happened to Mom, she's gone. If she's alive, then maybe she'll come back someday. But she isn't here now, and she hasn't been for a long time. I'm moving on. We all need to move on.
You remind me of the Apostle Thomas. Do you know that? You won't believe a thing unless it's right in front of you, where you can touch it and see it and hear it. But some things can't be seen, only believed.
You're right. This year has made me a realist. I have to see something to know it's there. Otherwise, it might disappear on me, you know?
What a disservice you've been dealt, with parents like the ones you've had. Will you be able to live with us, with me, after this?
No, I don't think so.
Will you leave right away, then? I don't think I'd have the right to stop you. But still, I dearly hope you won't.
Not now, no. I'll wait until I graduate. I can't leave Violet and Gus and Merle so suddenly. But after June... I'm going to college far away from here. If Stanford accepts me, I'm taking that offer in a heartbeat. No matter how many loans I have to take out.
Lena, no matter where you decide to go to school, I'll do the best I can to help pay your way. You deserve that much. Now I can ask whether you'll ever forgive me for the way I've treated you and your siblings, for consistently hiding parts of my life from you and leaving the four of you alone so that I could retreat into my work, and ignoring you when you needed me most. I was trying to think of how to have that sort of discussion with you, but I was too much of a coward to do it. Now that you forced my hand, no, I shouldn't say it that way. What am I thinking?
Dad.
Now that everything else is out in the open, I'm telling you, I want to do better. And I'm hoping you can forget about all the mistakes I've made.
Maybe someday I can forgive you, but not yet.
All right. I should have expected that it wouldn't be so easy. I'll just have to try harder then and do better. Perhaps someday you will change your mind.
I can hardly believe it, but it's been a month since Lena moved into her dorm at the University of Chicago. That first week, she called non-stop, and she sent me like 100 texts every day. Now she doesn't call or text as much, which I get. She's living her life now. I helped her move in. It was the first time either of us had been on a plane. We, Lena and me, flew out of Dulles because it was cheaper. Merle and Gus stayed home with Dad. I know he really wanted to come, but Lena said she didn't want his help, so he stayed. But I think it was good for him. She told me the night before we left that she agreed with me. Mom had left. But she said she didn't think about it very much anymore. After that day in January, we made Dad go back to a psychologist. He started exercising. And get this, he made plans to retire. He's gonna be a stay-at-home dad now. Lena's different now than she was a year and a half ago. A little harsher, a little more pragmatic, but maybe that's just because she's growing up. We all have, I guess. I wonder if she'll ever come back here. She isn't so far away, but it feels like an ocean's worth of miles. I think we're all better for what she made us all realize. It's like that poem someone put on Mom's memorial wall. We must love one another or die. The wall's gone now, by the way. I prefer it that way. We mourned. Now we're moving on. That's how it should be.